Las Vegas lost by 34 points on its own floor. Indiana never trailed, and the Fever finished the night with 6 players in double figures. Yet when the microphones came out, the conversation did not begin with Caitlin Clark reaching another historic milestone, Sophie Cunningham catching fire from 3, or Kelsey Mitchell controlling the game. It began with reviews, physicality, screens, tired legs, and a few calls that Aliyah Wilson described as questionable. That is why this loss has become one of the most debated WNBA stories of the week. Not because Wilson delivered some wild public meltdown. She did not. But because the gap between what Las Vegas discussed after the game and what Indiana had just done on the court was impossible to ignore. The final score was 109-75. Indiana did not steal the game on a late whistle. It did not survive because of one controversial possession. The Fever led from the opening minutes, absorbed Las Vegas' only serious second half push, and then buried the Aces with a 43-9 closing run. By the final buzzer, the officials were no longer the story. The scoreboard was. Caitlin Clark entered the game under a medical restriction as she continued working back from a lingering back injury. Stephanie White had already made the plan clear. Clark would play somewhere around 22-25 minutes, and Indiana would not chase one regular season victory at the expense of her health. That limitation should have favored Las Vegas. The Aces were at home. Wilson was available. Chelsea Gray was running the offense. Las Vegas had championship experience and knew that Indiana's most dangerous creator would spend nearly half the game on the sideline. Instead, the restriction revealed how much the Fever have changed. Indiana no longer needed Clark to play 36 minutes, take 25 shots, and manufacture every important possession. She could enter in longer, controlled stretches, organize the floor, draw multiple defenders, and let the depth around her finish the job. Clark ended with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in roughly 24 minutes. On the surface, that looks like a solid but quiet performance. Inside those numbers was another piece of WNBA history. Her 6th assist gave her 600 for her professional career. She reached the mark in only 72 games, faster than any player in league history. That record matters because it shows that Clark's impact is not dependent on a huge scoring total. She can influence an entire game by forcing the defense to make impossible choices. Press her above the three-point line, and she finds the roll. Drop toward the paint, and she shoots. Send a second defender in. She moves the ball before the trap is fully formed. Las Vegas spent much of the night reacting to that pressure. Even when Clark was not scoring, the Aces had to account for her location. That attention created space for the player who became Indiana's most dangerous scorer. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 27 points. Mitchell did not need a dramatic personal rivalry to motivate her. She simply kept moving. She attacked gaps before the defense could close them, sprinted through screens, and punished Las Vegas every time. The Aces lost contact for even a second. Becky later praised Mitchell's speed and motor while also joking that she was not sure every Indiana screen was legal. That comment quickly became part of the post-game controversy. But even a generous whistle cannot explain Mitchell's constant movement, balance, and shot-making. A screen can create half a step. Mitchell still has to read it, separate from the defender, and finish the possession. She did that over and over again. Her scoring was especially important because it prevented Las Vegas from loading every defensive resource toward Clark. If the Aces trapped Clark, Mitchell attacked the next rotation. If they stayed closer to Mitchell, Clark had more room to organize. If they tried to switch everything, Aliyah Boston gained a mismatch inside. That is the offensive triangle Indiana has been trying to build. Clark creates the pressure. Mitchell converts the openings. Boston gives the team a reliable interior answer. When the perimeter action breaks down, Boston finished with 19 points and 11 rebounds while battling Wilson for position throughout the night. Wilson still produced 20 points and 12 rebounds, so it would be inaccurate to say she was completely shut down. But Indiana prevented her from taking control of the game. Boston forced Wilson to work for her catches, challenged her around the paint, and then made her defend. At the other end, that physical workload mattered, especially with Las Vegas playing its 3rd game in 4 days. Fatigue was real. It should not be mocked or dismissed. The Aces had played Phoenix the previous evening. Heavy legs can shorten jump shots, slow defensive recoveries, and make a physical matchup against Boston feel even harder. Wilson said after the game that Las Vegas needed rest and noted that several shots were coming up short or rolling out. That explanation has basketball logic behind it. The problem is that fatigue does not erase the quality of Indiana's performance. It provides context for why Las Vegas struggled. It does not transform the Aces into the better team that was unfairly denied a win. Indiana shot with discipline. The Fever made 15 three-pointers and converted 18 of 19 free throws. They won the rebounding battle 35-28. They never trailed. And when Las Vegas finally reduced the margin for late in the third quarter, Indiana responded by outscoring the Aces 43-9 the rest of the way. No whistle creates a 43-9 closing run. That kind of stretch comes from one team making the correct decision on nearly every possession while the other loses its structure. The Fever defended without allowing Wilson to live comfortably at the rim. They pushed the ball after misses. They reversed it when the first action was not available. And they trusted the open shooter instead of forcing the ball back toward Clark simply because she was the biggest name on the floor. That trust produced the most explosive surprise of the game. Sophie Cunningham came off the bench and scored 20 points while making 6 of 7 three-point attempts. This was not a player hitting one lucky shot and riding the emotion. Cunningham repeatedly found open space, set her feet, and punished every late rotation. Las Vegas tried zone looks. It tried to protect the paint. It tried to slow Mitchell and Clark. Cunningham became the price for those decisions. Her timing made the performance even more memorable. Cunningham had already gone viral during her Las Vegas trip after making a spontaneous appearance at UFC 329. Then she returned to the basketball court and produced one of her best shooting nights of the season while Dana White watched nearby. That crossover story made Cunningham one of the most visible athletes in the building before tip-off. Her shooting made sure the attention did not feel like a distraction. Every Cunningham three created another emotional problem for Las Vegas. The Aces would make a small push, Indiana would move the ball, and Cunningham would appear on the weak side with enough room to fire. By the time she reached 6 threes, the game no longer felt like a contest between two championship hopefuls. It felt like a demonstration of how dangerous Indiana can become when the supporting cast converts the space Clark creates. And Cunningham was not the only reserve contributing. Harris and Monique Billings each reached double figures. Their 10-point performances were not the reason the game went viral, but they were part of the reason the margin reached 34. Blowouts are rarely created by only one star. They are created when the players outside the main headline win their minutes too. Harris kept Indiana organized when Clark rested. Billings brought energy around the paint and on the glass. Neither player tried to become something she was not. They filled the gaps the game offered. That gave Indiana 6 double-figure scorers: Mitchell, Cunningham, Boston, Clark, Harris, and Billings. Now compare that balance with Las Vegas. Wilson and Gray produced points, but the Aces never developed a complete offensive rhythm. Their three-point shooting disappeared, their defensive rotations became slower, and the game became increasingly difficult once Indiana's confidence rose. This is where the post-game reaction needs to be presented accurately. Wilson was asked about the repeated officiating reviews and whether they disrupted the flow. She said she did not pay close attention to them. She acknowledged that some calls may have looked questionable, but she also said Las Vegas should not put itself in situations that required those reviews. That is not the same as saying the league handed Indiana a special whistle. It is fair to describe the comment as frustration. It is fair to say Wilson believed some calls were debatable. It is not fair to turn it into a verified accusation that officials deliberately decided the result. Comments were sharper. She discussed the amount of screening Indiana uses for Mitchell, questioned whether all of the screens were legal, and said the Fever were the more physical team on both ends. Coaches do this regularly. They speak publicly about the style that caused problems, partly to explain the game and partly to place an issue in the officials' minds before a future meeting. That does not mean was correct about every screen. It means she identified the part of Indiana's offense Las Vegas struggled to navigate. The Aces' defense could not stay attached to Mitchell. Complaining about the screens may be an attempt to shape future officiating, but it also reveals where the tactical problem existed. Indiana's movement forced Las Vegas through repeated contact. Tired defenders had to chase Mitchell, account for Clark's range, recover toward Cunningham, and remain physical with Boston. That combination placed constant stress on the Aces. When those defenders arrived late, Indiana received clean looks. When they switched, the Fever attacked. The mismatch. When Las Vegas went under, Indiana shot. When it crowded the perimeter, Boston found room inside. That is not a whistle problem. That is a coverage problem. Still, balanced analysis requires acknowledging that one-sided fan narratives can become unfair. Las Vegas did not invent fatigue. The schedule was difficult. Did not claim Indiana had no talent. She praised Mitchell's speed and skill. Wilson did not refuse all responsibility. She said the team could not look like that again and should not have created review situations in the first place. Those details matter because the word tantrum suggests something more dramatic than the public comments actually showed. Wilson looked disappointed. She questioned parts of the game. She wanted rest. She also admitted that the performance could not be repeated. The reason her comments drew backlash is not because she screamed or attacked Indiana personally. It is because fans believe the explanations received too much attention after such a complete defeat. When a team loses by 2, one missed call can define the final possession. When a team loses by 34, the losing side needs much more than officiating criticism to explain the result. Las Vegas was outshot. It was out-rebounded. It allowed 6 Indiana players to score in double figures. It gave up a 43-9 closing run. It never led. Even if several screens should have been called differently, the Aces still had dozens of possessions to respond. Even if fatigue affected their legs, they still had to communicate defensively. Even if a review interrupted the rhythm, they still had to make the next shot and secure the next rebound. Indiana did those things more consistently. That is why the biggest takeaway should not be Wilson's post-game frustration. It should be the Fever's evolution. Earlier versions of Indiana were too dependent on Clark. When she struggled or sat, the offense could become stagnant. Defenses could pressure her, force the ball away, and wait for the possession to collapse. This version looks different. Mitchell can become the primary scorer. Boston can anchor the interior. Cunningham can punish help. Defense. Harris can organize the second unit. Billings can supply physical energy. Clark can play restricted minutes and still control the game without forcing her own statistics. That depth changes Indiana's playoff outlook. The Fever do not need Clark to be less important. They need the team to become less fragile when she rests. The Las Vegas victory showed exactly that. Clark remained the center of the defense's attention, but she did not have to become the center of every possession. That is how a talented roster becomes a serious contender. For Las Vegas, the loss is a warning rather than a final judgment. The Aces have championship experience, one of the greatest players in league history, and a coach who has already solved difficult postseason problems. One exhausted July night does not erase that. But the Aces cannot ignore what Indiana exposed. Their perimeter defense struggled with movement. Their spacing failed when the threes stopped falling. Their transition defense weakened as the game continued. And once Indiana increased the pace, Las Vegas could not slow the momentum. Rest may fix some of that. Tactical adjustments must fix the rest. The next meeting will reveal whether screen complaints produce a different whistle, whether Las Vegas changes its coverages, and whether Indiana can recreate the same balance when the Aces are fresher. Until then, the scoreboard owns the conversation. Caitlin Clark made history in only 24 minutes. Kelsey Mitchell scored 27. Sophie Cunningham hit 6 threes. Aliyah Boston posted a double-double. Harris and Billings completed a 6-player scoring attack. Indiana never trailed and won by 34. Wilson's comments may keep the WNBA media reaction alive, but they do not change what happened. Las Vegas had explanations. Indiana had execution. So do you think Wilson and offered fair context about fatigue, physicality, and questionable calls? Or did those explanations sound like deflection after a game Indiana controlled from the opening tip? And after watching Clark succeed on limited minutes while 5 teammates reached double figures, is this finally the Fever team the rest of the WNBA should fear in the playoff race?